Srimad Bhagavatam Katha ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Welcome to our sixth day of this Bhagavat Mahotsav. Today's speaker, most of you know him, His Grace Premanada Prabhu. So I will tell you a little bit about his material background. So he's a very qualified person. He has done a lot of studies. He started off with fabrication, a diploma in fabrication. Then he did a degree in production. Then he went on to doing a degree in manufacturing, and then ended up working or doing his own business as a structural engineer. So he runs his own business. It's construction business. Spiritually also he is very, very qualified. So after doing all this education, in the year 2006, he found out that none of this is actually going to work. So he decided to become a devotee of Krishna. And he was fortunate enough to come in contact with, I don't know, Prabhuji, how did you get introduced? Is it Sastra Prabhu? So, and then since that he has been very dedicatedly engaged in Krishna consciousness. He was very much involved in preaching. He also used to do a university program in University of Western Australia. And he has also run Bhagavad Gita classes for 5 years. And then after that, for the last 3 years, he has been giving classes on Bhagavatam. So he runs a program at his place on Saturdays, and many of the seasoned devotees go and attend his classes. So it's a great fortune that we will be hearing today from such a person who has already been giving classes on Bhagavatam for the last 3 years. He is actually a disciple of His Holiness Gurujan Maharaj, who is actually based in Perth. And one of the qualities, very outstanding qualities, is very surrendered to his Guru Maharaj. If there is anything that his Guru Maharaj wants him to do, he will be, he'll just do it with a lot of enthusiasm. Yeah, so this is one of the very outstanding qualities. Other qualities is that this is from the revelation of his own mother. He said when he was young, he used to speak a lot. He would just run around, he was very naughty. But as he grew up and he came to Krishna consciousness, he became a very quiet person. So then he only speaks about Krishna, sings about Krishna. Before he used to sing a lot of Bollywood movies, songs, but now it's only Krishna bhajans. So this is actually a very instructive for us, because Shastra also says, silence doesn't mean you speak a lot. Silence means you speak only about Krishna. That is real silence. So Prabhu has been very, has imbibed this instruction in his own life and has been following. So it's very exemplary. And also he is very caring by nature. Caring towards his children, wife, parents, and everybody else. So it's great fortune for us to have him today. Please give him a big round of applause. And without any further ado, let us get into the final pastimes, which is the topic for today's discussion.
For 5-7 minutes, please join us.
Jaya
Sevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nytyam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshuranyamilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Sarvadati Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Gurave Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prasarine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Histarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Render this service of narrating Srimad Bhagavatam. I can present the pastime in the way it is supposed to present. So please help me in doing that. Please pray that I am able to render this service nicely. I would like to thank also the host, Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, for giving me an opportunity to render this service. So we'll start. The telly is. So if Pandavas are not there, at whose place Krishna would visit or live? Anybody want to volunteer? Yes, go ahead. What you were saying? Same? Vidur? Yeah, Vidur. Krishna used to visit Vidur because he was his pure devotee and beloved devotee. Krishna remembered Vidur before he left this world. So how does and Krishna used to visit Hastinapur, and Vidur had to leave Hastinapur. The Lord is present at the place, the devotees are present at that place, and a devotee has to leave Hastinapur. The devotee has to leave that place. Does anybody know why Vidur left Hastinapur? He came as a messenger and he requested Dhritarashtra that at least give 5 villages. On top of it, Duryodhana tried to capture Krishna. And of course, who can capture Krishna? Only pure devotees, not Duryodhan. So then Dhritarashtra, as usual, called his younger brother Vidur to please give him some advice. And Vidur came and said, Dhritarashtra, my dear brother, they are Kshatriyas, they have to rule. Second, the Brahmanas and Devatas are very favorable to the Pandavas. Right? They have been to heaven and collected all the weapons. And of course, you are afraid of Bhima. Do you remember the 3 vows he took in the assembly when Draupadi was being disrobed? After Draupadi was being disrobed? Or during? And Krishna is on side of him. And then he said this particular verse to Dhritarashtra in front of everyone in the assembly. You are maintaining offense personified Duryodhan as your infallible son. But he is envious of Krishna, and because of you are thus maintaining a non-devotee of Krishna, you are devoid of all auspicious quality. Reveal yourself of this ill fortune as soon as possible and do good to your whole family. Now, what do you reckon the reaction would be? Duryodhan was actually trembling. In anger, your lips are trembling. Like that way his anger was. And this is what he said. Who asks him to come here, this son of kept mistress. Now, so many reasons Vidur gave to Dhritarashtra in front of Duryodhan. By political power, he explained that you cannot win. By rights, he explained that you cannot win. There are so many positive sides on the Pandavas that, my dear Dhritarashtra, if you go on fight, you will not win. And on the other side, that please, Pandava are the right to rule something. So when a character like Duryodhan cannot defend himself, the last weapon he used is gali, abusiveness, Shudra Kaika. He told him Shudra, the son of maid servant. He's so crooked, telling him he's crooked. N number of service he did. N number of years of service he did as the Prime Minister of Hastinapur. And what he is being told, that you are crooked. You are a spice in interest of the enemy against those on whose support he has grown up. So that means you are spice of Pandavas and you are going to destroy us, like that. Toss him out of the palace immediately. Leave him with only his breath. So here is the next verse. Swanam dhanurdvari nidhaya mayam bhartur puromarma sutaditopi ta itham utyal banakarna baner gata vyato yadurmanana yana. Thus being pierced by arrow through his ears and afflicted to the core of his heart, Vidur placed his bow on the door and quit his brother's palace. He was not sorry, for he considered the act of external energy to be supreme. This is a verse which explains how to deal with heartbreaks. What one's attitude needs to be when one is on the receiving end of a conflict. To the extent we are attached to our designation, to that extent we have to suffer. Prime Minister, a guide for the entire Kuru dynasty, n number of service, and at the end of the day, nobody can defeat Vidur in the whole world. That same person was defeated by his own family members. Quite interesting. Everything material what he had was taken away. Everything material what he had was taken away. From a high post, he became like a pauper, nothing. But look at over here, he is not sorry. He didn't justify, this is injustice. You know, how many years of service I have rendered. He didn't gather an assembly. Can you please put a report in front of the king? Like that. He was not sorry. Why? Because he gave up all the designations and he kept just one designation to himself. That I am a servant of Krishna. The tool of service changed, but the principle of service, he kept it as it is. We understand now what is the tool of service? Sometimes you are sweeping, sometimes you are cooking, sometimes you are having prasad, sometimes you are giving class, sometimes you are doing kirtan. But the principle of service is the mood or the mood by which you are doing that service. And what is that mood? Whether my authority is pleased or not. That is the principle of service. Is your superior happy with you or not? Because in every one of our life, this is going to happen. Things will come, and even though you don't like it, it will be taken away from you and you can't do anything. At that time, we lament. But after your lamentation is over, where you take shelter, that's what we learn from the stories of Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's what we do have done. He said, Maya is giving me trouble. Okay, no problem, I'll accept it. It's my faith. But while going through my faith, I have a free will. And what do I do with that free will? That's $1 million question. And what did Vidura did? Vidura said, oh, thank you. Oof, that heavy load of work and family life, put it aside, let me go. Let me go to pilgrimage. Let me go on pilgrimage. And he wandered like a mendicant, you know. Chodo ghar bar, chalo Haridwar. He left home and he went to Haridwar. I mean, to different holy places. And over there, one day, after many years, he went to Yamuna. He went to Vrindavan. And on a bank of Yamuna, he met a personality. His name was, so he left the thing, and his name was Uddhav. And he was so happy. He came in tears and he embraced him. And this is the question he asked, the first question he asked after embracing him. Please tell me whether the original personality of Godhead, who incarnated themselves at the request of Brahma, who was born out of the lotus flower from the Lord, and who have increased the propensity of the world by elevating everyone, are doing well in the house of Sursen. he asked basically, how are Krishna and Balram, your beloved lords? He asked. And then he asked about his family members, Vasudev, how are his sons, Sambha, Pradyumna, Niruddha, like that. He asked about Ugrasen, his grandfather. He asked about a lot of family members. And then, this is the third canto, first chapter, and then in the second chapter, before replying to Vidur, Uddhav becomes unconscious because he remembered Krishna. He is present, but he is not present in front of Vidur. And the verses, if you read those first 6 verses of the second chapter of the third canto, you will understand, you will get a glimpse of a consciousness of a pure devotee. And Vidur experienced that. And after he went somewhere and he came back, and Vidur experienced that he is not here, he is not present, he has gone somewhere, he has come back, and now he will reply to my question. So this is what he said. Uddhav uvacha Krishne dhyumani nimloche griheshu swa ajgarenaha kim nu na kushalam bruyam gata shrishu grihe swaham. Krishna dhumani, Krishna, who is like a sun, nimloche, has set. Krishna has left this world. Griheshu ajgare naha. What do I mean? And my house is been overtaken. My house has been swallowed by Ajgar, by a snake, the snake of time. Kim nu na kushalam bruyam. What to speak about my welfare? Gata shrishu grihe swaham. My house is in darkness. Shri Uddhav said, my dear Vidur, the sun of world, Lord Krishna has set, and our house have now been swallowed by great snake of time. What can I say to you about our welfare? In this world, the time has a deteriorating effect, right? Yes or no? Yes, no? And we can experience that in the morning when we look through the mirror. Look ourselves. That something is coming closer. Ayur harati vaikunthan. Every rays and set of a sun, we are going closer to that. Only those who listen to Krishna Katha are saved. So how does this happen? How did Krishna wind up his pastime? And what he was thinking before he left this world? What was his thoughts? So in the 11th canto, first chapter, this is what Krishna is thinking. Because the battlefield of Kurukshetra, 540 million people were killed. And then after killing, putting Yudhishthir Maharaj on the Singhasan, giving Bhishma a very good farewell, and then leaving Hastinapur, the devotees are getting separated, entering Dwarika, devotees are Vipralamba, and then and Sambhog is happening, meeting with the devotees in Dwarika. What happened after that? So one day in Dwarika, Krishna is thinking. Then the unfathomable Lord thought to himself, although some may say that the Lord's burden is now gone, in my opinion it is not yet gone, because there still remain the Yadava dynasty itself, whose strength is unbearable for the earth. Yadava dynasty, his own dynasty, is unbearable to earth. Why? We will know soon. Lord Krishna thought, no outside force would ever bring about the defeat of this family, the Yadu dynasty, whose members have always been fully surrendered to me and are unrestricted in their opulence. There are 6 kinds of opulence, right? Does anybody know 6 kinds? 1. Strength. Wealth. Intelligence. Opulence. Knowledge. Renunciation. So all this members of Yadu dynasty had. But if I inspire a quarrel within the dynasty, that quarrel will act just like a fire created from friction of bamboo in a grove, and then I shall achieve my real purpose and return to my eternal abode. What was the purpose of Krishna coming? What is that famous verse? Yada yada hi dharmasya paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. Like that way. So then he said, when the quarrel will be arranged in the Yadu dynasty, then my purpose is achieved. My dear King Parikshit, Sukadeva Goswami is telling, when the Supreme Almighty Lord, whose desire always come to pass, had thus made up his mind, he withdrew his own family on the pretext of a curse spoken by an assembly of Brahmanas. Pretext of a curse spoken by an assembly of Brahmanas. Who are those Brahmanas? I'll tell you one name. Durvasa. Have you heard any pastimes of Durvasa? One curse is there in his pastime. At least one curse. Narada, Vasishta, Atri, Angira. So lot of sages. They were there. So Vasudeva have called them to do some sacrifice, and after the sacrifice was finished, in the holy place of Pindaraka, they had prasad and then they were sitting. At that time, the children of Krishna wanted to play with them, with the sages. And one of Krishna's son, Jamvati's son, Sambha, he dressed himself as a girl, and not just as a girl, but as a pregnant girl. Okay, so here are the sages, and Samba is very beautiful, very handsome. He's the mother's boy, as we say now. Good looking, very good looking. So he became a girl. And these sons of Krishna asked to the Brahmanas, can you please tell us, boy or a girl? Only 2 options is there anyways. The Brahmana became angry, upset. This is an offense. He said, that womb will be the cause of destruction of your entire dynasty. They kept a pillow, but when they opened the sari, it was a black gada, and they got very afraid, and they went to Ugrasen, Krishna's grandfather, and Ugrasen said, okay, don't worry my boys, we will file this gada. This is Ugrasen and that's the gada. That we will file this gada into the smallest as possible iron filings. And you file it, the last piece is left, right? So all that filing and that last piece was thrown into an ocean. And with the strength of the waves, those filings came to the shore of an ocean, to the shore of the ocean at Prabhas, a holy place called Prabhas. It's still there in Gujarat. It's there at holy place of Prabhas. That iron filing grew into an iron cane at Prabhas, and that small piece, it was eaten by a fish. The fish was caught by a fisherman. Fisherman sold that fish to a hunter called Jara. Jara cut that fish and found that iron filing in it, piece, the last iron piece in it. And he said, I will put it on a tip of my arrow when I will do my hunting. So that happened to the club. Then what happened? One day in Dwarka, some inauspicious omens came. Thundering and lightning, very inauspicious omen started appearing in Dwarka. This is 11th canto, 30th chapter. Sukdev Goswami said, having observed many disturbing signs in the sky, on the earth and in outer space, Lord Krishna addressed Yadavas assembled in the Sudharma council hall as follows. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O leader of Yadu dynasty, please note all these terrible omens have appeared in Dwarika just like a flag of death. We should not remain here a moment longer. The women, children and old men should leave the city and go to Shankodhara. We shall go to Prabhashetra where river Saraswati flows towards the west. There we should bathe for purification, fast and fix our mind in meditation. We should then worship the demigods by bathing in their image and ointing them with sandalwood pulp and presenting them various offerings. After performing the expiatory ritual with the help of great fortunate Brahmanas, we will worship those Brahmanas by offering them cows, land, gold, clothing, elephant, horse, chariot and dwelling places. This is indeed an appropriate process for counteracting our imminent diversity, and it is sure to bring about the highest fortune. Just what such worship of demigods, Brahmanas and cows can earn the highest birth for all living entities. Having heard this word from Lord Krishna, the enemy of Madhu, the elders of Yadu dynasty gave the scent, saying, so be it. After crossing over the ocean in boat, they proceeded on a chariot to Prabhas. There, with great devotion, the Yadava performed ritual ceremony according to the instruction of Supreme Personality of Godhead, their personal Lord. They also performed various other auspicious rituals. Then, their intelligence covered by providence, they deliberately indulge in drinking a sweet Mairiya beverage, which can completely intoxicate the mind. The heroes of Yadu dynasty became intoxicated from their extravagant drinking and began to feel arrogant. When they were thus bewildered by personal potency of Lord Krishna, a terrible quarrel arose among them. Infuriated and seized their bow and arrow, swords, bhallas, clubs, lances, spear and attacked one another on the shore of the ocean. Riding on elephants and chariots with flag flying, and also on donkeys, camels, bulls, buffaloes, mules, and even human beings, the extremely enraged warrior came together and violently attacked one another with arrow, just as elephant in the forest attacked one another with that task. Their mutual enmity arose. Pradyumna fought fearlessly against Sambha, Akrura against Kunti Bhoj, Aniruddha against Satyaki, Subhadra against Sangramaji, Sumitra against Suratha, and two Gadas against each other. Another also, such as Nishatha, Ulmaka, Sahasrajit, Satajit, and Bhanu, confronted and killed one another, being blind by intoxication and thus completely bewildered by Lord Mukunda himself. Completely abandoning that natural friendship, the member of the various Yadus clans the Dasaras, Vrishnis and the Andhakas, Bhojas, Satwatas, Madhus and Aburdas, the Mathuras, the Sursenas, the Vrishanas, Kuhuras, the Kuntis, all slaughter one another. Thus bewildered, son fought with father, brother with brothers, nephew with paternal and maternal uncles, grandsons with grandfathers, friends fought with friends, well-wisher with well-wisher. In this way, intimate friend and relative all killed one another. When all their bow had been broken and their arrows and other missiles spent, they seized the tall stalk of cane with their bare hands. As soon as they took these cane stalks in their fist, the stalk changed into iron rods as hard as thunderbolt. With this weapon, the warriors began attacking one another again and again. And when Krishna tried to stop them, they attacked him as well. In their confusion state, O king, they also mistook Lord Balram for an enemy. Weapon in hand, they ran towards him with the intention of killing him. O son of Kuru, Krishna and Balram then became very angry. Picking up cane stalks, they moved about within the battle and began to kill with this club. The violent anger of these warriors, who were overcome by Brahmana's curse and bewildered by Lord Krishna's illusory potency, now held them to their annihilation, just as a fire starts in bamboo grove destroys the entire forest. When all the members of his own dynasty were thus destroyed, Lord Krishna thought to himself that at last the burden of the earth has been removed. And sat down on the shore of the ocean and fixed himself in meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Merging himself within himself, he gave up this mortal world. Lord Krishna, the son of Devaki, having seen the departure of Lord Ram, sat down silently on the ground under a nearby peepal tree. Just then, a hunter named Jara, who had approached the place, mistook the Lord's foot for a deer's face. Thinking that he had found his prey, Jara pierced the foot with his arrow, which he had fashioned from the remaining iron fragment of Sambha's club. Then, seeing the four-armed personality, the hunter became terrified of the offense he had committed, and he fell down, placing his head upon the feet of the enemy of the demons, Krishna. And then hunter offered prayers to Krishna. And that. So instructed by Supreme Lord Krishna, because Krishna said that it is my arrangement. So instructed by Supreme Lord Krishna, who assumes his transcendental body by his own will, the hunter circumambulated the Lord 3 times and bowed down to him. Then the hunter departed in an aeroplane that had appeared just to carry him to the spiritual sky. At that time, Daruka was searching for his master Krishna. As he neared the place where the Lord was sitting, he pierced the aroma of tulsi flower in the breeze and went in that direction. Upon seeing the Lord resting at the foot of a banyan tree surrounded by his shining weapon, Daruka could not control the affection he felt in his heart. His eyes filled with tears as he rushed down from the chariot and fell at the Lord's feet. Daruka said, "Just as on a moonless night people are merged into darkness and cannot find their way, now I have lost my sight of your lotus feet. My Lord, I have lost my vision and I am wandering blindly in darkness. I cannot tell my direction, nor can I find any peace." O foremost of the king, while the chariot driver was still speaking, before his very eyes the Lord's chariot rose up into the sky along with his horses and its flag, which was marked with the emblem of Garud. All the divine weapons of Vishnu rose up and followed the chariot. The Lord Janardhan then spoke to his chariot driver, who was the most astonished to see all this. O driver, go to Dwarika and tell our family members how their loved ones destroyed one another. Also tell them of the disappearance of Lord Shankarshan and of my condition. You and your relatives should not remain in Dwarika, the capital of Yadus, because once I have abandoned that city, it will inundate by the ocean. You should all take all your families together with my parents and under Arjun's protection go to Indraprasth. You Daruka should be firmly fixed in devotion to me. Remaining fixed in spiritual knowledge and unattached to material consideration, understanding these pastimes to be a display of my illusory potency, you should remain peaceful. Thus ordered, Daruka circumambulated the Lord and offered obeisances to him again and again. He placed Lord Krishna's lotus feet upon his head and then, with a sad heart, went to the city. As soon as Daruka reached Dwarika, he threw himself at the feet of Vasudev and Ugrasen and drenched their feet with his tears, lamenting the loss of Lord Krishna. Daruka delivered the account of the total destruction of Vrishni, and upon hearing this, O Parikshit, the people became deeply distorted in their heart and stunned with sorrow. Feeling the overwhelming pain of separation from Krishna, they struck their own faces while hurrying to the place where their relatives lay dead. When Devaki, Rohini and Vasudev could not find their son Krishna and Balram, they lost consciousness out of anguish. Tormented by separation from the Lord, his parents gave up their lives at that very spot. My dear Parikshit, the wives of Yadus then climbed onto the funeral pyre, embracing their dead husband. The wife of Balram also entered the fire, embracing his body, and Vasudev's wives entered his body and embraced his body, entered his fire and embraced his body. The daughter-in-law of Lord Hari entered the funeral fire of their respective husband, headed by Pradyumna, and Rukmani and other wives of Lord Krishna, whose heart were completely absorbed in him, entered his fire. Arjun felt great distress over separation from Lord Krishna, his dearmost friend, but he consoled himself by remembering the transcendental word the Lord had sung to him. Which word were they? Arjun then saw to it that the funeral rites were performed, carried out for the dead, who had no remaining male family members. They executed the required ceremony for each of the Yadus one after another. As soon as Dwarika was abandoned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ocean flooded it all sides, O king, sparing only his place. Arjun took the savior of the Yadu dynasty, the women, children and old men, to Indraprasth, where he installed Viraj as the ruler of Yadus. Vajra as the ruler of Yadus. Hearing from Arjun the death of his friend, my dear king, your grandfather, Parikshit's grandfather, who is that? Yudhishthir Maharaj, established you as a maintainer of the dynasty and left to prepare for their departure from this world. A person who with faith engages in the chanting of the glories of these various pastimes and incarnation of Vishnu, the Lord of the Lord, will gain liberation from all sins. So everything finished. Sab khatam ho gaya. It's very bewildering, isn't it? And this is the challenge what a student of Srimad Bhagavatam will face while reading the pastimes in Srimad Bhagavatam. There are exalted devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam. There are two challenges the student will face. First, while hearing the pastime, one should not offend the people involved, the devotees involved in that pastime. First. Sorry? Krishna in that pastime. We should not offend that devotees involved in that pastime. Understand? We should not disrespect them. Yeah, not criticize them. And second, do not imitate them. Do not imitate them. That's the challenge the student of Srimad Bhagavatam will face. And that challenge can be overcome by the mercy of being in Guru Parampara. Because when we hear the pastime, we have to hear that what conclusions Srila Prabhupada and our Acharya gives on these pastimes. What lesson a student have to learn when they hear these pastimes. And because these pastimes, they are known to everyone. I mean, most of Indian people knows this pastime. But the conclusion, what you arrive by hearing these pastimes, that makes you, that will elevate you if you arrive to the right conclusions. And the right conclusion we will arrive by taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada's purports. Is everyone with me? Yeah. So now we will quickly, I have just illustrated, I have illustrated some points. Now these lessons which have been illustrated in Prabhupada's purports, each lesson can be spoken for millions of, for hours. But we will just touch them and we'll come to the essence. So why did Krishna will a fight among Yadus? Why did he did this the way he did it? Why? First lesson to be learned. To show the power of Vaishnava aparadh. Do not offend the devotees. Do not offend the devotees. Even though you have not done wrong and still you have been blamed for something, don't offend a devotee. Become humble. Presently we are hearing the pastime of Kumara and Jaya Vijay. Wonderful pastimes about Vaishnava relationships. So do not offend a devotee, because the Yadavas are not spared. They are the family members of Krishna and they were not excused. First. Second, if one indulge in the habit of bad character, then the result is horrible. What is the bad character they did? Intoxication. What do we do? What is that? In India we see that Ganesh Chaturthi is happening in the name of Ganesh. The result is not correct. The purpose is not met of that austerity and spend of Lakshmi. Familiarity breeds contempt. This means that the Yadavas, some of the Yadus thought, we are born in the Yadava dynasty and Krishna is also born in the Yadava dynasty, so we are on the same level. So they disrespected Krishna. They disrespected the position of Krishna. Because there is only one seat of master and that is already been filled. That's already been filled. There is no competition. Okay. So they disrespected him because they were too familiar, Indra became too familiar with Brihaspati, his guru, and he offended his guru. We see in the pastimes of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yadavas, because some Yadus were devotees of Lord Krishna, they could not live without seeing Lord Krishna. So if Krishna is going, they should also go. Because they cannot bear the separation with the Lord. One should have no hope from this material world. Because everything will be taken away. Do not have any hope, like that Prabhupada writes. no one could have defeated Yadus as they were under the personal protection of the Lord. Nobody can insult Yadus. What to speak of fighting and defeating them? At that time, nobody could even insult Yadus. And if they are ruling, then they should rule based on their qualities, not on their birthright. So Krishna checked that if a person is put on a particular post, he must be qualified, not on a birthright he should put. A lawyer has to become a lawyer before he sits on the seat of a judge, like that, or a doctor, like that. Okay. Opulence is given. All the 6 opulence were given to them, and it was withdrawn. Right? Each and every one, this will happen. Huh? What is death? Whatever you have collected in your 70, 80 years would be taken away from you within a moment. That is death. So when it is being taken away, where your mind runs towards, So opulence will be given and taken away. Now, if you see all these lessons, like Vaishnava Aparad, we know, that there are so many pastimes of Vaishnava Aparad. Right? See, quickly. Vaishnava Aparad, you can see that in Kumara's Vaishnava Aparad happened. Then in Daksha pastime, Vaishnava Aparad happened. So many pastimes are there which illustrate Vaishnava Aparad. Why like this way Krishna did to teach us, to his family? What is one of the 4 regulative principles? There are 4 regulative principles. No meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and Krishna's family member. Daru pike. Family member. And what we say in our Bhakti Vriksha, chant Hare Krishna and follow 4 regulative principles. And Krishna's family member. So that bad character can also see, that Yudhishthira Maharaj sat on a gambling match. Again, gambling. So that lesson is learned in that pastime also. Correct? So why like this way he did? So much, then familiarity breed concept I told you about Brihaspati and Indra. Then like that way there are many pastimes where these lessons can be learned. But there is one reason why Krishna did the way he did. By making them drunk, by making them fighting with each other, there is a reason for it. And that reason is Krishna wanted adharma to pervade under Kali's influence. If you see the nature, everything is in a cycle, right? What is going on? Spring, then winter, summer, then autumn, then winter, then spring. Cycle. January, February, November, December, January. 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 12, 1. Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Right? Everything is a cycle. So Satyuga, Dwapar, Treta, Kali, then again Satyuga. Birth, boyhood, young man, old age, death. Everything is in a cycle. Correct? So now.
So after death, again birth, then when? soul get liberated, when they can go to
No, I'm also struggling. Okay, when join the club, Mataji.
એના માટે શું કરવાનું? અમારી છૂટી
સાંભળવાનું કૃષ્ણ કથા અને કૃષ્ણ કીર્તન, બીજું શું કરવાનું હોય? કૃષ્ણ કથા અને કૃષ્ણ કીર્તન. His Grace Ahindra Prabhu used to say, we should cry while chanting the holy name.
That much love has to be there.
And if you don't cry while chanting the holy name, then cry for not crying while chanting the holy name. That much love. So now Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur presents a conversation between Kali and Krishna when Krishna was present in this. Please listen carefully. This is the verse. O leader of the Yadu dynasty, please note these terrible omens that have appeared in Dwarika, just like the flag of death. We should remain here a moment longer. We should not remain here a moment longer. Among all the persons who came to meet Krishna from various places during his trip to Kurukshetra, Kali came unnoticed by others and spoke to Krishna in Kurukshetra. O Master, when will I take charge of the earth? You can take charge only when my pastimes are over. After I disappear, with the right given to me, you will pervade the earth. So who gave the right? Kali. But in your presence, dharma has increased to 4 legs and is even stronger now than Satyuga. If dharma is so strong, how can I rule? I can rule only when one leg of dharma remains. One should not use the logic that when the effect disappears, the cause disappears. To conclude that when you disappear, the 4 leg of dharma will also disappear is not correct. Right? Because Krishna was present, we know, no? Satyuga 4 legs, then Dwapar 3. Then 2, and then Kali Yuga 1, which is truthfulness, and that is also a big question mark. Thank God we are not able to read others' mind. If we are able to read others' mind, so Kali is telling that dharma 4 leg it is staying, it is Satyug, but it is very powerful in your presence. Okay, so Krishna is telling, why you are telling like that? Why? The Devatas will still be alert because he gave all the powers to the Devatas to do everything properly. So Devatas will still be alert, for they have become most famous and purifier of the whole world under your protection. Moreover, you have destroyed those forces who are unfavorable to dharma among the world's population. So 440 million people were killed who were unfavorable to dharma at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He has wiped out Jarasandha and so many other people. He has wiped out. So there is no opposing element. There is no opposing element to dharma at that time. Okay, and now, if you descend to Vaikuntha with all the inhabitants of your abode in a sight of all persons as Rama did, the favorable devotees will double in numbers. How did Lord Ram went from this Bhauma Ayodhya to real Ayodhya? He took all the citizens of Ayodhya in his chariot who were not qualified to come with him. They all saw, oh my God, everyone is going with Lord Ram to the real Ayodhya. We will also go. So the people, when they see that, they will endeavor for that. So dharma will increase. Correct? Is everyone with me? Okay. Krishna asked how. So here it is. those who are already intensely favorable will increase their prema 100-fold out of great longing in prema, love in separation, and those who are neutral will become devotees on seeing this extraordinary event, like Lord Ram did. Dharma will thus increase. How will even a little influence of Kali be possible? By what method I will increase adharma in order to restrict dharma? Right? Is everyone with me?
Yeah.
Able to understand? Thinking for a while deeply, Lord Shri Krishna thus spoke with a broken heart. Krishna, here is the method. I will remain as I do now in Dwarika with the Yadus who are my associate, but will become invisible to the eyes of all who are materialist. Kali, how will that happen, my Lord? Krishna, the Devatas who are my potencies such as Cupid and Kartikeya have entered into my eternal associates like Pradyumna and others. By my power of yoga, I will withdraw them from those bodies. Making some fake forms for the eyes of ordinary people which appear to be Pradyumna and others, I will have them go to Prabhas with the other inhabitants of Dwarika and have them drink wine after meditating and giving charity. In that way, in drunken state, they will kill each other and will send to Swarga according to their individual qualification as devotees. And of course, other will go with him. Then I, in another form, will depart for Vaikuntha with the other inhabitants of Dwarika as Rama. So the pure devotees will come, and the Devatas who have come from the heaven, they will go to heaven according to their qualifications. But I will let the common people think that the Yadus left Dwarika, went to Prabhas, and under the control of Brahmana's curse, drank wine and killed each other. They will think I, Krishna, along with Balram, gave up our human body and then ascended to the spiritual abode. Thus, they will think that my body was temporary and made up of matter, which is a great offense. Others will claim that just as Kurus have all died in the battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna died with his family at Prabhas. By people hearing, speaking and praising such preaching of wrong ideas by idiots who think they are learned, immediately one leg of dharma will remain. Just as I, inflicted by jaundice, sees the shining white conch shell to be yellow, people whose mind and eyes are inflicted by Maya will see my departure pastime, which are actually eternal, full of knowledge and bliss, to be inflicted by material misfortune. They will see and conclude that I gave up my body along with my associates like Pradyumna, and that the queen like Rukmani were burned in a funeral fire. Not only the materialistic will see this, even the persons like Arjun will see this by my divine will. Sages like Vyasdev and Parasar will describe this in their work. And Shiva, my devotee, will take birth in Kali Yuga, will preach this in a commentary of Vedanta Sutra in order to spread Kali's influence. Persons with no intelligence repeatedly study the sutras will explain the meaning according to that commentary. That the body of the Lord possessing unlimited power is subtle covering of Maya on Brahman. So the body of the Lord is material, not spiritual. Thinking in this way, with the idea of producing great disturbance, expressing fear and agitation, the Lord spoke these verses. So this is the reason why Krishna did what he did, to bring the influence of Kali. And we are the most unfortunate persons who are seeing and experiencing the influence of Kali. You want a solution, no, Mataji? Okay.
Everybody knows.
Yes, but you asked for it, so especially for you. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes another purport in his 11th canto Bhagavatam. This is what it said. It is the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be merciful. What?
Merciful.
It is a nature. And he is especially merciful to those in helpless condition taking shelter of his lotus feet. One can immediately take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord by chanting his holy name. According to Sridhar Swami, even in previous ages, such as Satyug, it was not possible for the living entity to achieve perfection that is available in Kali-yuga. Again, I'll read it. In previous ages, such as Satyug, it is not possible for the living entity to achieve perfection that is available in Kali-yuga. What you can't do in previous ages, you can do in Kali. Forget about that. What can't you do in higher planetary systems, you can do it in Kali-yuga. In former ages, why? See, Sridhar Swami, His Grace Sridhar Swami Prabhu writes, in former ages such as Satyug, human beings were perfectly qualified and easily performed even the most difficult spiritual processes, meditating on many thousands of years practically without eating or sleeping, because they had that kind of body. Thus, although in any age, one who completely takes shelter of the Lord's holy name gets all perfection, the highly qualified people of Satyug do not consider that merely moving the tongue and lips, chanting the Lord's holy name is a complete process, and that the Lord's holy name is the only shelter within the universe. They are more attracted to the difficult and the elaborate yoga systems of meditation, complete with sophisticated sitting posture, painstaking control of breath and deep, extended meditation in trance on the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the heart. So they can do extraordinary things, but they will have no impetus or lack of faith on the holy name. In Satyuga, sinful life is practically unheard. And therefore people are not afflicted with trouble reactions seen in Kali-yuga, such as world war, famine, plague, drought, insanity, etc. Now, if you go to a person who has a house, a 3-story house in a front of a beach, city beach, and it's his own house, no mortgage, fear. Okay. A Lamborghini in his garage. Servant to clean the house. Servant to cook. Children are obedient, listening children. Wife, listening. Husband, listening. If you go to that person and tell him that chant Hare Krishna, will he chant? Too much happiness, Prabhu. No problem at all in the life. Will he chant? He will not chant. Kali-yuga gives an impetus to chant Hare Krishna. What is that impetus? Problems. Do you want? Come. Plenty. See what. Although in Satyug people always worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the ultimate goal of life and meticulously follow his rules called dharma, they do not feel themselves to be in helpless condition, and thus they do not always experience intense love for the Lord. However, in Kali-yuga, the living condition is so unbearable. Modern government are so obnoxious, our bodies are so ridden by physical and mental disease, and even self-preservation is so troublesome that the conditioned soul intensely cry out the holy name of Krishna, begging for relief from the onslaught of this age. To go to Lord to ask for something is a fortunate thing for a devotee. You don't become small by asking to the Father. And when you cry, it's the best thing. The tears which comes out from your eyes when you remember Krishna, that tear is more purified than the water of Ganga. But it should come with a pure heart. We can cry out. What are problems, Prabhu? You see COVID. Just see the problems. That's why Prabhupada said, go on Harinam, distribute books. People are dying miserably. They are living, but they are dead. So this holy name we can chant. Thus, due to their helpless and pathetic condition, the living entity in Kali Yuga have a great impetus to surrender fully to the holy name of Krishna, putting all their hope and faith in Lord's holy name. Kali Yuga is therefore the best age, because in this age, no more than Satyuga or other ages, the conditioned soul become disgusted with the kingdom of illusion and surrender fully to the Lord's holy name. This state of full surrender is called Param Shanti or Supreme Peace. So Kali Yuga gives you a motivation, an inspiration, an impetus to chant and take shelter of Lord's holy name. That's one benefit. Before I end the class, one more. That's one benefit. Chanting of the holy name, we can cry out. What answer Uddhav gave to Vidur when Vidurji asked, how is Krishna and Balram? What did he give? Does anybody remember in the beginning?
Just fainted.
Huh?
He just fainted. He didn't give any answer yet.
No. What? No, not Uddhav and Vidur. No. When Vidurji asked Uddhav that how are my Krishna and Balram, what answer Uddhava gave?
Like sun sets.
That Krishna's sun is set. It's a cycle, no? Morning, afternoon, evening, night, and then morning. And Krishna's sun has set. Same answer, same question has been asked in the first canto, first chapter, last verse by the sages of Nimisharanya. Since Sri Krishna, the absolute truth, the master of all mystic powers, have departed for his own abode, please tell us to whom the religious principle have gone for shelter. The sun has to rise again. Krishna swadhama upagate dharma jnana davi saha kalo nasta drishamesha puranarko dhanodara. Krishna swadhama upagate. Krishna has left to his abode dharma jnana davi saha, and he took all the religious principles, knowledge, all the good qualities of dharma with him to his spiritual abode. Kalo nasta drishamesha. The Kali Yuga is full of darkness. Puranarko dhanodara. This Srimad Bhagavatam has raised as Krishna himself in this age of Kali. This Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has risen just after the departure of Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Person who have lost their vision due to their dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. And why do we do that? Kali Yuga gives us that chance to do it. That problems. Therefore Kunti Maharani said, Vipada Shantu Shashwat Tatra Tatra Jagadguru. That I want problem after problem. Kunti Maharani is telling, I want problem. I don't want happiness. I want problem after problem, because when I see problems, I see you. Okay, so we'll stop here. If anybody have any questions or comments, it keeps you thinking, my God, better I take full advantage of human form of life now only, huh? Not a next life. Correct, no? Better I take the chance.
Just as
It's there in 12th canto. It's there. Kalki will come.
An avatar of Krishna.
But this Kali Yuga, we are most fortunate because it is such an insane world that we are able to chant Hare Krishna. People who are chanting, they are able to chant Hare Krishna only because of the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because people are absorbed in the problems. And the absence of problems is an happiness for them. The absence of problem is an happiness. People are absorbed in the problem, and not only that, they are absorbed in how to find a solution of the problem. And like that way the life goes. Life is finished. So it is so insane world, Maya is so captivating, on top of it, Kali Yuga. So the glass, you can see this paper. But if you have a magnifying glass, the word expands, right? So the effect of Maya and Kali together, the problems have expanded. It's expanded. So it is only because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is given to us by Srila Prabhupada and his followers, we are able to chant Hare Krishna. It will go on for another 10,000 or years or so. And then at the end of Kali, no chanting, only killing. Kali avatar will come and simply he will kill. No preaching. No preaching. Only chanting, only killing. So better we chant. We don't take a second chance. Think about it. Think about it as the sun rises, that what I am going to do, how much I am going to spend time of thinking of Krishna. Because everything would be taken away. And problems are there, no? Is there anyone who have no problems? Yes, here it is. Yes, why these souls are over here? Let me do something which they can chant my holy name nicely. Therefore the final pastime. Okay? I think we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. All the assembled and non-assembled devotees ki Jai. I'll ask some favor. Please pray for me. Because while chanting Hare Krishna, I am not able to hear. So if you pray and I pray for you guys, then with a mixed prayer, Krishna will help us when we chant Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Premanada Prabhu ki Jai.